Welcome to the Real Fire step-by-step video. You can see here I'm just mapping in some flames. I've already based up the panel, which is an aluminium composite panel in SEM black. It's just a base coat black. And now I'm just working over that with a moly orange. So it looks a bit more yellow on the video, but it is actually an orange. So you mix a lot of white in with orange to make that sort of opaque orange. You can see here I'm just sort of mapping in using the Mike LaValle TrueFire Series 2 template by Arctool. I'm just using the medium and small templates that you see in the kit. So they've got 3 different sizes in the kit, and I've left my templates together as well. So a lot of people decide that they want to separate them, but I like the curves the way they are, so I've just kept them the way they are. Basically, I'm just mapping it in all freehand using different edges of the stencil. You can see some hot spots there, and basically after the first tone, that's what it should look like. I mean, every single flame will be different, but if it starts looking like a bit of fire, well, you're on the right track. I'm now using a red House of Colour candy apple and just spraying that all over that first layer of flame. So you really want to saturate it as much as possible. You can use a mini spray gun. I just thought I'd use an airbrush. This is an HPC-R, so the Iwata Revolution. Pumps out a little bit more paint, so we get some good coverage. So really cover that nice and even as best as you can, and just keep coating it. Don't worry too much if you hit the black areas, because that's going to disappear. So you can see there it's fairly saturated, but I'm going to give it a few more coats just to really get that depth. This is the background layer, so a lot of this will get covered, but it's still important to get a really nice red. You don't want that sort of pinky look to it. Okay, so the next step is I get a 577 by De Beers, which is a colourless binder, similar to the SG100 Intercoat Clear by House of Colour. What I do is I basically coat over all of the candy areas. This is extremely important because this actually seals off your candy. If you don't do this and you continue with your flame job, by the end of it, whatever the base colour candy is, that will seep right to the top, so it'll turn all of your flames, every single colour that you've done, it will turn it red. So you don't want to do that, and it will only happen until you clear it. So by putting that binder or the Intercoat Clear in between each candy, you're going to stop that from happening. Alright, so now you can see, just working with the stencil again, and I'm just sort of working another layer of flame. So what I'm doing now is I'm ignoring my previous one. So basically just going straight back over it and creating another layer. So this doesn't have to follow your first layer. It can just be completely different. You can see some of the areas I am still going over, like the embers and all that sort of stuff. But you can notice here, it's still a separate layer, and you can still see a lot of the red shining through. I've now switched to an orange House of Colour Tangerine Candy, and I'm just spraying that over all of those areas that I just did with the moly orange. So again, get nice coverage. A bit of your overspray will blend onto the red, that's fine, it will just turn it orange. And you can, pretty much control how deep you want the flames, but you want fairly even coverage. You can see here, just working it in. Just to get that depth. You don't want any sort of bits that are half covered, because it's not going to give the candy its full strength. So again, now with the Intercoat Clear or your 577 binder, whichever. PPG have one as well, so depending on what paint system you use. In between coats to allow it to dry for a good half an hour to an hour, depending on how wet you go, obviously. You can see I'm saturating it quite a lot. So this is what it should look like now after that tangerine candy. So now I'm working back. Now I'm working more with a light, it's a white mixed with yellow base coat. So it's a bit brighter than your moly orange. And now I'm actually trying to work within the flames that I've created. So I'm trying to highlight those areas and just just sort of lift up certain parts and then fade out sections. So you use your template, but you've also got to use freehand techniques too. You don't want to rely totally on just a template, because then it starts looking a bit too cheesy. So you can see here I'm just gradually working it in. Some areas I feather out, and I'm always switching templates, spinning them around. I mean, I've got my sort of favorite ones that I like to use, but you can see how different areas create different shapes, and I don't go completely around and make circles. I just use that template and almost draw with it. But just if you need to get some reference pictures off the internet, just Google fire and do an image search, and you'll have plenty of different images that you can use as a reference. So you can see some of the areas I'm actually going up really close with the airbrush and just getting some random lines in there. That's going to look really cool when you've got the different layers. You can see now what it's starting to look like. You're getting a lot more depth in the flames. And now we're going to work over the top with a nice yellow candy. So same thing as before. Just try not to coat the whole thing now. Just sort of work in the areas that you've done with that layer, that particular layer, rather than just saturating the whole piece, because candy is transparent and it will alter the color of the other bottom layers that you've already got there. So just sort of try and keep some of the orange and just work that yellow over the areas that you've just completed. So you might, as you can see, you might need a few coats, but just take your time and just cover it as neat as possible. Now you can see now I've just started again with the 577 or the SG100, whichever you're going to use, just a colourless binder or an Intercoat clear, and then allow that to dry again before going to the next step. Right, now we're doing the highlights. So this is, again, it's a brighter white, so it's not a true white, and it's just got a few drops of yellow in that. And you're just hitting the high spots, just the bits, the hottest areas in your flames, really. So this just gives you that extra little effect, and you can see some of the wispy sections. They sort of look like, that real hot, gassy sort of section. So just alternate your stencils and do a bit of freehand work as well. And now you can see I've switched to a yellow candy. And all I'm doing is I'm not going right over the top of all of the white that we've done. I'm just hitting the edges that blend back into the original artwork. So that way you've got the high spots, but it fades back in. So there you go. And that's pretty much our real fire completed. All we need to do now is put a bit more binder on the whole lot, which I'm doing right now, just to seal it all off before we 2-pack clear it. So you can see here the different depths, and everything will come out more when you actually clear coat it. You can see the detail and the gases, and then the use of the stencils combined with the freehand. And this is the clear coated panel. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks again for watching.